Hi, thank you for being here today. My name's Nicola, and I'm here to talk about what I love doing. My profession, which is I get to play with my friends for a living, and what I'm going to do is try to convert you to steal my job in the future. That's what I'm going to do. I'm aware that I'm speaking to this because this is what the live streamers want. Welcome to my stand-up set. I feel like a stand-up person. So don't feel obliged to take notes. You can take notes if you want to, but Annie, we will send this presentation out to people. At the very end of it, there are some resources, links of like free sound effects, libraries that I like, libraries that I use a lot, resources to links to train as a sound designer. Not that you're not training here already, but like other things to do. At the very end, you can contact me to shadow opportunities, because that's what I find the most useful learning, is to actually be on the job. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna talk about a bit about me. I'm gonna keep that very short. I want you to talk about yourselves, and I'm gonna talk about a few shows that I do, and what makes me tick as a designer and where that comes from. Yeah, there are like 83 slides, so like don't bother taking any notes. Honestly, genuinely, let it be sent to you and like bask. Okay, like, really quickly about me. I grew up in Hong Kong, and then I did my first degree in economics and international relations. Do I have to I keep standing here, right? Is that the thing? Hi, live stream people. Can I move around?
You can. I can change the camera angle.
Oh, okay.
But then you might need to take the mic with you.
Really, truly stand up. Okay. Truly stand up. Stand up routine. Hi, Linda. How are you doing? Yeah, I did my first degree in economics and international relations, which was sort of the proper degree, and I did music on the side and fell in musical theatre while I was at university. But I was really lucky. My mum loved Chopin, my mum loved Dvorak, and my dad loved the Eagles. So we listened to a lot of that in the car when I was growing up in Hong Kong. And I had piano lessons and percussion lessons. So that was a privilege of being exposed constantly practicing music, which developed my ear, I think, for it. I started as a performer. So basically, like, long story short, when I was 7 years old, do you know the show Stomp, right? The one with like broomsticks and stuff like that. When I was 7, I saw a video, and I was 7, mind you, 7, in a local school, and I was a wee young lass in a local school in Hong Kong. And I saw the video of them like sweating and grunting, and I was like, that's the coolest shit ever. Like I just want to do that. And then I moved here 11 years ago in pursuit of that. So that's how I started my career as a performer, and also did a bit of MDing on 16 Musical. So I started very much on stage, and then now have moved more of an off-stage sort of designer role. And I moved into sound design and composition gradually over the past 6 and 7 years, through COVID as well, which forced me to go into audio dramas and film and advertising. So we can talk a bit about that as well. I want fundamentally, I can talk about myself, but also want to make sure that this is all for you. So if there's any point, I talk really quickly, number one, so raise your hand and go like, slow the fuck down. Oh, I swore. Slow down.
Okay.
Okay, great. Slow down. And also, if there are any questions, just raise your hand and just shout, because there are a lot of spots that I will miss. I started my theatre sound design career on the Fringe, so like pub theatres, where I did a lot of Vaults Festival and a little bit of Fringe. A lot of these things that allowed me to have the career have now no longer quite exist because of different reasons, post-COVID, lack of funding, lack of government funding in the arts, etc., etc. That's not to say that there are no replacements, and we can talk about those as well if you want to get into this kind of career. But I think primarily having started my career at the Fringe level as a sound designer and composer made me do very much with very little. And I think that makes design interesting, is when you have only one design element, because you don't have access to premium QLab, so you have to make something go really fast. So you have to go into Logic Pro or go into GarageBand and make one thing go very far, add reverb, add all these things to it, switch it around, reverse it, because you don't have that many things to do. I think, ironically, has channeled me into a designer that does a lot with very little. And I think that makes some pieces were quite interesting, and we could talk about those too. Tell me a bit about you. Is that okay? Are you alright for it, or are you just like sitting there basking? Because either way, I'm not going to make anybody do anything they don't want to do. Anybody want to just be like, ooh, background music? Okay, here we go. Musicians, raise your hand. Great, cool. Yeah, what's that? You don't know? It's truly a stand-up set. Okay. Oh yeah, well, okay, what are you doing? This just really feels like a stand-up set. Anybody who is interested in theatre, like writing for theatre? Amy is. Writes for film, potentially, writing music for film. Again, over there. Advertising? Anybody want to know advertising? No shake hand. Not a bad route to go down to. It does pay an extra 0. General music, like, not a bad. It's less, it's soulless, but it does pay the bills. Anybody here makers? Are you all makers? Like, yeah, you're maker. What do you make? Oh, okay, no worries. We'll get back to you in a bit. It's gonna go around and call people out. Any of you love theatre for the sake of theatre, or like enjoy watching theatre? Why?
Huh? Heckling your stand-up.
Yeah, heckling. Yeah, this is the all heckling. We're gonna do this a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it is it's an interesting like cross collaboration of like it happens in such a short space of time that even if you're like restaging an old play, like there's that kind of busy energy of like the company has just kind of like had however many weeks to make something together, like the sound designer and the lighting designer will try and kind of just in the most like fizzy way put that kind of touch on the show, and it's like I don't know, it's quite unique in that kind of
Energy and fizz. That's what exactly. That's what I love doing. Energy and fizz. I think I said at the very start, I play with my friends for a living, and it's truly fizzy. You get in the room and all your ideas mush together, and out comes some fizzy thing. Anybody want to tell me a bit like about what you want to get out of this workshop, or anything that you think you'd like me to cover? Anybody? No? Okay, cool.
So this person,
Hello.
they like theatre.
You like theatre?
Well, you do.
Yeah, I like theatre.
Why?
Why? I mean, it's not like I specifically love theatre more than anything else. I just love it because every time I've seen it, it's like, I don't know, there's this wow factor. Even if it's a small fringe show. And like a mix of all of the elements, I think. It's just like, hits different when the light goes on the stage.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Wow factor, fizzy factor. I find it the most fascinating contract that you can ever have. You sit down and you pay money, and then there's a contract between you and everything's on. It's a social contract that I think the negotiation of it and what you deliver is constantly such the most fascinating. It's almost anthropological sometimes. I work with it and like, oh, cool, interesting. But yes, all of those. Yes, yeah.
you asked like if there's like anything specifically that would want to get out from it.
Yes.
You know, so I'm sure you're gonna cover it, but from my experience working, like I did do a few pieces for theater works or dance, and I think the most challenging part was always working with them.
Who's them?
Them, the guys, the people who I made the music for, or like, and because usually I don't know, I've worked mainly with like fringe and like small companies and stuff. Found them like super unstable, keep changing their mind all the time. It was like super hard.
What I do when people ask me to fix things, I say hello in increasingly antagonistic ways. So rather than doing what, they go Nicola, and I'm like hello. And then as the days go on and I get more and more annoyed, I'm like hello. In a sense of like what? Okay, we can get to that. I think it's about. I think it's such a malleable, changing thing that I write music. I tend to write music and design things that. I'm doing a show at the Globe at the moment that is going to press tonight, and when they change the whole movement section, I could just go, we're going to move figure letter D to letter E all the way before letter B, and that's a 5-second fix. So there are some ways of writing music and some ways of programming music and thinking about and like, you know, tonal centers or blocks of music that connect. That a lot of the things that I write usually after 8 bars, the last note of the last bar has a pivot note, so it sustains. Where the next bar and it's dropped. Do you also am I explaining myself clear-ish? I'm trying to so da 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 da, and then it just sustains over the next 4 bars, for example. And so we can move those 4 bars to the front and then move another 4 bars over. But the sustained note then creates an illusion of connection. So when you move things around, that sustained note still makes the audience think that I've composed it to a particular reason when it's all just building blocks. So that's what I do sometimes. I think theatre is compromise. So much of design is compromise. I'll get to that in a bit. But it's compromise between time and resource. It's between your mental energy and someone's mental energy. It's you've got 2 hours to fix this. You've got 2 hours and 20 people on stage. And what are you gonna do? Do you want them to all wait for me? They can't wait for me because they'd be like, we got 20 people on stage, paid by the hour. When I was doing Totoro, there were almost 200 people in the building paid by the hour. So your compromise is then you have to make the most malleable and movable building blocks of music and sound that you can just go and then you can fix afterwards, right? But also, what I have had to teach myself after all these years is that audiences look at a piece of theatre horizontally, and we, as sound people, look at it vertically. So every second I'm vertically going, that is a mistake, that's a mistake, I should have done this, I should have done this. But for the first time, like you said, it's fizzy, it's interesting. You watch everything horizontally, ever. For the first time you see something, it's horizontal. You just go, take every moment like that. Whereas we look at every moment like this. So I've come to the realization that I've just had to make the most horizontal music possible and then move the vertical bits around. Does that make sense? So similarly with the sustain notes, you go shh and it's horizontal and the vertical building blocks can move around. That's very, very abstract, but that's sort of hopefully a tool that I employ sometimes when I write music, which makes it really quick to move things around in tech. Like, you know, I've got 20 people on stage waiting for me to write a ballet and I go, okay, figure D, better, figure B over there, and it's done. But because it's just for like 4 bars and loops and stuff like that. We may or we may not get to that, depending on how I feel. But there's an app called Lexus Audio Editor on your smartphones. Do not take your phones out, please. And it's basically a sound design tool. So what we might end up doing is we might end up downloading this at some point and then asking all of you to go out there and record a sound and then putting some audio effects on it, and you're going to make me a thunderstorm. But we'll see how we go. So that's an option. So at some point, I'll be like, oh, are you bored of hearing my voice? If you are, then we're going to do this exercise, okay? But until then, this is just for you. It's free for both Android and Apple platforms. I would recommend. I use it a lot on my workshops. Because what ends up happening is you can experience things like EQ. You must all know what EQ, reverb, reverse, all these like things are. But then to make it into a dramaturgical, theatrical thing is what I want you to do in a bit. Yeah, I work in a variety of spaces. This is Chester Story House. This is Fringe. I'm curious started in venues like this with 2 speakers. And then I've done Waterloo Vaults, so this is underneath the train station, which is fantastic because then the train rolling across becomes part of your sound design language, doesn't it? So the train goes every 5 minutes, so you can go, okay, so I'm going to make a sound design that incorporates or uses or does a bit of that. I did a show called Unbelievers at the Royal Court recently, where in Sloane Square you can hear the bloody train all the time, and so then sound design becomes quite rumbly, so that it sort of makes the train not as present. So you think it's a part of the sound design. I think is this Garrick? Oh, fun fact, a lot of Western venues have a noise floor you can't go above because ceilings fall down. So you can't go above like a certain decibels because the ceilings, this beautifully painted ceiling, will collapse, which is a fun fact, I guess. I've done caravans. It's one of my favourite shows I've done in caravans because you have only 2 speakers and it's really, really intimate, and so your sound design becomes a conversation. I've done football fields, I've done immersive shows, so I like a variety. I've done binaural recording. Does anybody know what binaural recording is? This binaural head, great, you're shaking, you're nodding, right? So this is, who doesn't know, who wants to talk about binaural stuff really quickly? Cool, no one does. You, yeah, great, cool. So, like this microphone, yeah? It's a cardio microphone, so it takes sound from here. With a binaural head, it's a figure, can I borrow someone's head? Do you want to keep my head? Is that okay? Thank you. This is true like stand-up show. And with a binaural head, we've got microphones coming out of Amy's left and right ear, so that when I go, hello, then you're going to receive more signal in your left microphone, and I'm going to keep going. And because of proportional, like these 2 microphones, I'm just going to go. I also never did a single physics class in my entire life, so I explain sound in the way that I understand it. So I might be wrong, but I feel like I understand it. Does that make sense? Great. And so imagine there are 2 microphones, one here and one here. And proportionally, because I keep, the more I'm going to keep talking, but then her right ear is going to start receiving sound more because I'm going to keep talking into proportionally the right ear and then the left ear. So what a binaural head does, which is very, very immersive. If you have time, go on YouTube and search binaural haircut, and you put your earphones on, and it's like the scissors go and it gets quiet and it goes louder and louder around your ears. So it's very much relative recording. Thank you very much. And I've got a speaker here, and I was doing a children's audio play, and we're playing the Jaws theme from that speaker, going closer and closer to the binaural microphone. So that's doo-dun, doo-dun. It was quite fun. Kids like shat themselves, but That's what you can do because of the distance, right? So that's what you can do, binaural recording. And that's another field. If any of you have seen binaural Macbeth, which started at Donmar, then went to Pinter. That was Gareth Fry's design. Headphone shows are quite in vogue at the moment too, so that's not a bad way to go down to. I've got a binaural head myself. I bought it for £309. It's come in handy for some of the shows that you want to do. And it teaches you a lot. I think audio plays also teach you a lot of sound design techniques. And I think the best training you could possibly do as a sound designer, the stuff that I do, which is content-based, soundscape-based sound design, is to do a one-person everything show. Genuinely, it's such a muscular training because aside from the person on stage, you are all the other characters, and you are the emotion, and you are the tone, and you are the landscape, you are the traffic, you are the bus, you are home, and you are the crickets. So that's good. Hello, take a seat. You have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. Right, so my job, I take care of an audience's entire audio journey. From the moment you walk into theatre, those double glass doors, the moment you walk out, it's sort of my responsibility. And I look after things like pre-show music, I look after things like atmosphere. Here's a fun fact. You know how when you see, then there's a show, and then there's no pre-show music, and then everybody starts talking, and then one person goes, shh, and everybody goes, shh, and it gets really awkward. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you see, the show just starts awkwardly. One thing you can prevent that, so sometimes sound designers, we do that. We play it through a pre-show without pre-show music. We do this all the time. And so, no one goes, shh, and then before the show starts. And you do all know what I'm talking about, right? You know that really awkward thing when someone goes, shh, and it becomes like, and you're like, oh, it hasn't started yet, this is awkward. So you can do that, here's the audience. That's part of some of the things that I put in. Hypothetical. Here, so let's say you're gonna do a show set in 1960s Brighton. Okay, 1960s Brighton, for example. Okay, I'm gonna walk into theatre, what are we doing? Shout your ideas, go.
Seaside.
Thank you, seaside, great, cool, pre-show, yeah? We're sitting down, we're getting gulls, we're getting a bit of carnival. Anything else?
Smoking.
What?
We were allowed to smoke back then.
Smoking, yeah, sure, smoking, why not? Hello. Hello, you have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. Cool, anything else? And there's no bad idea in design, I truly believe that. I don't believe there's any bad design ideas, you have to justify it.
I feel like those arcades.
Great, arcades, like those, beep, boop, boop, do you mean like quite...
Yeah, and like all the old like
Quiz things, ding ding, boom boom, yeah, love that. Anything else? Pre-show music, anybody pre-show music? 1960s Brighton? You gonna say something? Come on. Okay, so they've made a pre-show soundscape, right? The audience walks in and they know where they are. They know immediately where they are. They're by the sea, and that sets us up. But what if the show we're gonna do is a horror show? Now, isn't that even more interesting? Because the audience walk in and they think, oh, it's gonna be really fun, and the first sound effect is a bang, a jump scare. Then jump scare becomes louder and more effective, right? So that's the stuff that I'm interested in, is then you control the tonal emotional journey. Whereas if the show might be a very happy, clappy show, you might not even need that. You might not even need any pre-show music. You might just go, oh, audience, walk in, and that's it. And then the entire journey starts at a very different pace. Does that make sense, right? The horror show, you want to put everybody up here and then take them down with the first beat. But that's journey. And I'm doing an R&D next Monday, and all I'm talking about is journey, because everything has to develop. I find it really hard to buy or listen to a design where everything goes on everything at once, because then you have not thought about where the thing goes, what the thing's going to do. In the show, I look up the sound effects, I write transition music, I write my own music for theatre as well, microphones and effects. So, for example, you know how when you go to the toilet, the reverb sounds different, right? You go in there, your voice sounds different. You can put a microphone in the middle of a stage. Am I saying things that you already know? Okay, great, I'm going to keep going. You can put a microphone, you can have a microphone somewhere in the set and then add a reverb to it. Then as an audience member, you go, oh, I'm walking to the bathroom. So I was trying to think about sound design doing things that no other design element does. So if there's already a toilet seat, quite like figuratively, in a black box theatre, then I might not do it. But if there isn't a toilet seat, just a seat, and I have to go, that's a toilet. And when the character sits down, I might add a microphone, I might have a microphone add a reverb to their voice, and I might do a toilet flush effect that has no relation to the action, right? They can sit down and they can just flush. And it doesn't matter, Because the audience member, it doesn't matter for you that the person has or hasn't flushed the toilet. Because the toilet flush sound effect just tells you you're in the toilet. So that's like quite gestural sound effects, right? So that's interesting. That's interesting for me. That's the line of work that I do as a sound artist. And then for music, sometimes it's quite fun. Like back to our Brighton example, and then suddenly maybe the story fast forwards 40 years, and then you play 2000s into music. Maybe in the show, I don't know, the seagulls die. So suddenly there's no more seagulls. Or suddenly there's another bit of, I don't know, there's a huge gentrification movement, and then suddenly there's a lot more cars. You can paint a lot of world and story through just subliminally altering audience. And then after the show, walkout music. Some shows that I've done are very sad, so you want the audience to feel held, and so you play certain things. Another fun fact for you, which I've been told by a director, is if you do a really sad show, your walkout music should not have lyrics in the first 20 seconds. Because an audience, it's all about psychology. Like, a lot of my work is about psychology. So you go, audience clap, right? You clap, you go clap. And then suddenly something comes on with lyrics. Then you automatically stop clapping. You think, what are the lines? And so you lose that entire emotional effect. Whereas what you want to do is clap, clap, clap. Gentle guitar, gentle piano. You're like, okay, walk up. And then the lines come in. Then you go, while you walk out, you go, okay, cool. These lyrics are supposed to give me a little warm hug. They're making sense. So these are like really small, subtle things that are like great to put into your design. Okay, this is boring. There are many bullet points. There's a design person, right? I get a script. Does anyone want me to talk about this? I get a script. I look at it. I talk to the director. I go, these are my thoughts. They like it. They don't like it. I work with a lot of teams. I find inspiration. I love to start with a Spotify playlist. I love to start with one sound effect. Start with the world. There's some shows I'm going to show you later. There's a show called How I Learned to Swim, which was last year, Payne's Plough, roundabout, and we went to Brixton House and went to Bristol Vic. A show about the journey. You follow a black woman learning to swim, but you find out it's because her brother has gone to the ocean and disappeared. And so it's quite ambiguous what happened to her brother. And then she sees him, right? She sees him. She goes to the sea to look for him, and she's in the car, and then there's this scene where we think that she does see him. And the most interesting for me, that my pitch was, when she sees him, it's just pure orchestral music. The underscore is orchestral, because it's a one-woman show. Whereas everything else, when she goes to learn to swim in the YMCA, or she does swimming lessons, talks to her mum and dad, it's all like these kind of water sounds, because what that does is that it then makes a moment more abstract. So you as an audience member then project what you think her meeting her brother in the ocean, whether he's actually in the ocean or not, becomes more abstract, and you put your own emotion in. Does that make sense? But then that's what you pitch, right? I go, this is a big design idea. You like it, employ me. Don't like it, don't employ me. I do a lot of venue scouts. There's nothing like understanding a venue. Right, so you've got, what have we got? We've got 2 speakers left and right. You've got 2 at the back. You've got a whole line of sides there. First thing o'clock, you've got, Maria knows, I was like, where's your subwoofer? I can hear it. So there's your subwoofer over there. But there's also, I always ask a venue tech what sounds nice, what genre sounds the best. They always go, every genre sounds the best. But no, every room hums at a fundamental frequency. Do you know what I'm talking about? So that you play a sine wave at a particular note. At some point you hit a particular pitch where the whole room starts to vibrate. And that for me is interesting, because if that maybe is the key of F, then maybe I should write my music in the key of F, so that when you hit that F note, suddenly the room vibrates. Why not? Or you intentionally avoid that note. That's fun to find out. I always ask that sometimes. Expectations, that's a good answer to you. Sometimes yes, go.
How would you know what the frequency sweet spot of a...
Fundamental frequency?
Yeah.
This is QLab. Did Ting talk about QLab? Ting, my colleague Ting, did she talk about QLab at all?
She did show it.
Show it. Okay, let me open my template. And I have this beautiful thing called goodbye. Of these sine waves. Let's see. Audio. With this, aren't we? There we go. Okay. And I just increase the pitch. It's going higher and higher. tuner. Oh, G sharp. Okay, G sharp. The room might respond really well to G sharp. Which happens sometimes, when I go to a venue, sometimes I play my music in key of E, and then suddenly the chairs start to rattle. You go, this is interesting. And then a JBL starts to rattle. You go, oh no. Because some speakers, it's used individually, then have their own frequency and tuning. And you don't want to break anything, so it's fun to play. When you go to a theatre, they usually give you a section of time called quiet time. I don't know if Ting talked about it. Ting is a colleague and probably came a few weeks ago talking about theatre sound. System tuning is like basically you are given this program called QLab and all the speakers that you asked for in the configuration that you asked for and the microphones that you asked for, and you sit there and you tune a system. You time it, you make it respond, have different sort of variations of levels of volume as responding what you want to do. Again, it's compromise, all about compromise. I want to be able to sit in every single seat, and every time I press spacebar on a sound effect, it should sound more or less the same. You probably get more sound because you're closer to the speaker. But then, if I want to deliver the same amount of sound to, say, you over there, I might put a speaker by your head, above you, right? So you get the same level of volume, not as... But then, if I play a sound effect that's a click, like a snare. Okay, let's do this. Tuning a system, right? Does anybody know what timing is? Delaying speakers. Do you know what delaying speakers are? Right, some nods here. Delaying speakers, yes, no? Happy to talk about it, ish. So, this click. I'm playing it from these two speakers. Imagine if I play it from this speaker and say, that speaker over there, just over there, by the exit sign. If there were a speaker by the exit sign and I play the click, the person over there in the cap, backwards cap, would hear the click faster from that speaker than you would this speaker, right? Because the click takes time to pass, right? Does it make sense, right? By the time you get that click to you, versus by the time you hear that click coming to you, you hear it coming from that speaker quicker than you will hear from this speaker, right? There'll be a delay. So what I do to make sure that you're hearing the click seemingly from this speaker is to add a bit of time on that speaker. So I delay the click, but I delay all of the content, so everything across the board, I add maybe 0.3 milliseconds on that, so that the click is sent to all the speakers, but sent to that speaker particularly just a bit later, so that all sounds in tune in the room. Does that sort of make sense? Ish? Now that's useful because, now I'm mic'd, right? I'm mic'd. So Maria's there, I'm mic'd. Now I'm talking like this. Maria can't hear me, right? You can't really quite hear me. You can hear me. You can't quite hear me. So in a big venue, the compromise is obviously putting a mic on me, right? And then putting a mic on me, getting the signal from my voice, and then firing it to Maria. But if Maria were, say, at the gods, and then you took the level of, like, grabbed the signal from my mouth, and then played it to a speaker above their head, it will reach them quicker from the speaker than from my mouth. Does it make sense, right? If they had a speaker right there, they will hear my voice coming to them from that speaker, and then see my mouth move by virtue of physics, right? Everybody following? I've never taken a single physics class in my entire life, but this makes sense. So what I do is then add a bit of delay to that speaker in front of their face, so that it seems like what they are seeing when they see my mouth move and hear me say something, it comes out of the speaker around the same time, approximately, right? But you add a bit of time, you add a delay on that speaker, so by the time it hits you, it should hit around the same time. Ish? Am I making sense? Yes? Great. Fab. Does that answer the question? I just went into system timing. Pull me back on track, my brain just goes blah. Cool. Yeah, I set expectations. So that's useful because I'm only one person and I only have so much time in the world. So you let them know that I can only do this much. So like always ask, like, what do you need for your session to run well? It can only be this loud. I can only have 4 instrumentalists. I can only do this. Communicate. It's like being in a healthy relationship. Like, just diligently communicate. And then share the content. Playlists you make. One of the best things about this job is that I keep making and nothing ever goes to waste. So all the stuff that I've made that doesn't get put in the show gets put into my next show. Genuinely. A lot of shows that I have got now have like stuff I've written 5 years ago that never made it. So it's never a waste. Right. So just 3 things. Really simple 3 things. 3 design rules. For theatre, I like to find the fizz, the heart of a piece. Like what makes me tick, how I learned to swim. The heart of the piece is a woman learning to swim because her brother disappeared in the ocean. So the heart of the piece is her going to look for her brother in the ocean, and maybe she's in there, maybe she fell asleep in the car, you don't know, but that's the heart of the piece. So then I write music to underscore the heart of the piece, the fundamental dramaturgical emotional beat, and then everything goes from it, right? So if that piece is written in A minor, the whole sound design leading up to that, which that moment happens about 45 minutes into the play. So everything 45 minutes before that has to be relative or related to A minor, or do something about it. Does it basically lead to drive towards the heart of the piece? I like to make one idea go very far. I'm going to show you something later that where the whole sound design is care about one saxophone, and just how do you stretch and flip and pitch bend a saxophone, because that is more interesting for me, that you have one central idea, sound idea, and you make it go really far, rather than having so many things at your disposal, right? I like to also think about negative space and default states, right? If we all just listen to the room, that's quite loud, isn't it? You've got projector humming as well. What happens if you suddenly kill it all together, 3, 2, 1, woof, and then my voice becomes louder? Now, so that for me is more interesting. So I like a lot of my sound designs usually have, and sound designers put that in, called room tone. So you, ironically, in a theatre, when you've got no sound, they do so much soundproofing that you put room tone back in, because you can pitch room tone, right? I've got room tones in G, room tones in A, I've got room tones in E. Then all the music before and after that makes sense. So you flows from an E to a piece of music in E major, and then goes out of it into a relative minor of a C sharp minor. I came from classical. But you can also, for example, do this the whole time for a scene at this level. And then suddenly you kill it. And then that moment becomes more significant. So I'm not interested in going, underscore this, use this for 10 seconds, and then take it out. I'm not interested in it. I'm interested in having this go on for 3 minutes, and then taking out for 10 seconds. That for me is, so I like negative space, because you set a default, and then you take out the default, right? So this sort of makes sense. I'm not going to make it any more poetic than it is, because that's sort of just the design things that I like to go by, and I feel quite effective. There's no poetry in that, it's just interesting. That's me. Some people do it differently. That's me. I think I can summarize my practice in 3 key things. The content design, system design, Tim probably talked about this a little bit. I do a lot of content. My content side is I think about what you hear versus what you say and what you see, and then that guides tonal and emotion. System design is what sound design used to be, which is speaker placement and mic placement. You go to see Les Mis, for example. Someone's there, micing the band, micing the actors, making sure that actors sound like they're speaking from the point of the stage they're speaking in, doing vocal zones, EQing the bass drum, EQing the timpani. That used to be sound design. That still is sound design, but the field that I am in is also, it's quite new. So I think some in industry, like for example the Olivier's or Tony's, haven't really quite caught up with what this field of sound design is. But it's still sound design, because I'm actually thinking about your entire journey from a psychoacoustical point of view. But this is it. So I learned this kind of timing and tuning a system quite sort of after the fact. But that's there's some system designers who are quite interesting. There are Adam Fisher is a great system designer. Gareth Owen, have you ever seen Back to the Future, for example, the musical? What's the musical in town in roller skates? Yeah, sorry? Starlight Express. So he designed a system for that, and that's hard because they've probably got trackers. Something like they're doing this and singing, and you make it sound like they're singing from their mic rather than singing from a speaker above you. There's some things that make it easier. And DMB, for example, I'm just going to say a combination of letters, and you're going to accept it as is. DMB do trackers. I think DMB do trackers. Yeah, DMB do trackers, which are little devices, little boxes that you put in pockets, and it can track an actor's movement across the stage, and then when they speak into a mic, and it can, through a combination and proportion of level from speakers. That's the best way to. So if I'm here, and because I'm on the mic, right, it's also coming out of there, which is quite unrealistic for where I am, because I'm stood here. So if these existed but don't look like the speakers they look like, you would expect there to be a bit more level there and a bit less level there, right? Because I'm standing here. Versus if I was here and had a mic, you should expect a bit more level there and a bit less level there, because I'm standing to stage right. And there are things got trackers now that can automatically compute that. So that makes it easier, doesn't it? There you go, fun fact. You bored yet? Are you bored yet? You're not bored yet. And you go, great, cool, fantastic. Thank God. Cool. This is Leeds Playhouse, Macbeth. I imagine you all know the story of Macbeth. Spoiler alert: he dies at the very end. So that's Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, the witch is up there at the bottom. This is Leeds House. So it's very theatrical. It's a very, very theatrical design. Because we're not doing castle, we're doing a massive drawbridge. It comes up and down, and the drawbridge itself symbolizes when the drawbridge is down, like that, in that position, it's war. When it's up there in this position, it's castle, and it does go a bit higher for banquet hall, right? So it's just 3 different positions that sit in 5 different theatrical spaces. Hello, welcome, have a seat. You haven't missed very much. In fact, you've missed everything. Just talking about system design. So look at this. Can I sort of see? I've got all these boxes. Yeah. Oh, I should have brought my cat toy. I've got a little cat toy. There's a laser toy that goes pew pew. So this is the drawbridge. We get a rig plan or system plan often, and it's often a bird's eye view. So then they went, where do you want your speakers? It's a massive stage. It's a 1,000-seater. So you have to have quite a lot of speakers. Again, it's compromise because you often submit a plan like this. Usually 3rd week of rehearsals when nothing is actually set in stone. Ideally, I like to know where everybody is because these speakers play sounds like horses and people shouting and random music. So it'd be nice if I knew where everything exactly came from so I could use less speakers, right? Then everything's simpler. But I don't. And often, nothing really gets set in stone until week 6. And you have to submit something like this by week 3, which is halfway through the process. So it's a compromise. So if you look at it from bird's eye view, I think this is quite general. It's quite a compromising, it's quite it's a very generous design because you've more or less got bird's eye view. You've got a speaker, all these boxes with color in it, more or less in every single useful location. I might not use all of them, but at least there's something there. So when director in tech goes, I want something to come out of there, and I go, do I have the speaker for you, baby? Right? So, but I knew that there were some important things. For example, the drawbridge had to have 5 speakers above it because what for me is interesting is the drawbridge goes up. The drawbridge is silent. First time the drawbridge goes up, you play the drawbridge and you go right? So the audience go, ooh, drawbridge. And every subsequent time the drawbridge goes up and down, it's just music. Because you already know it's a drawbridge, so you don't need to make it a drawbridge. But you can give it theatrical significance, right? So the drawbridge goes up, banquet scene, and I play a banquet cue. Drawbridge goes down, war, I play a bugle like a better than that. But then I play that kind of cue, so the audience then starts associating that particular movement and thing, right? But if you can't, but you have to have first established that as a drawbridge and made it sound like what you want it to sound before you can then subvert it. But having 5 speakers above a drawbridge lets you do that because you can really locate the sound. So I play all these so I've got chain sounds here, I've got mechanical sounds here, so you go, ooh, that is a drawbridge. So you've got like quite a general cover. And then these are upstage. Upstage, downstage, you all aware of upstage, downstage, what they mean? Yes-ish? So, audience, it's end on, right? End on. So end on as in, I'm here, there is a demarcation between space-wise, between me on stage and audience. There's a proscenium end on configuration. Downstage is down towards you. Upstage is up away from you. Upstage. So these speakers are really, so those are towards the back of the stage, and this is towards the audience. Downstage towards audience, upstage away from audience, stage right, stage left. Yeah, and I've got these speakers away from the playing space, so you can't quite see them, but they're just in the distance, just in case I need a bit of church bells, because you never quite know. So this is a system design. I've got, there's a speaker in a little trench, because Macbeth and they bury a baby, etc. So this is what I have to submit usually 50% through the process. So about expectation management, it's about compromise. If you have maybe 4 speakers, then what you want in a configuration like this, you want to think about left and right, and then maybe 2 at the back, so that you can play sounds from the back, and then you have you need to create immersion and surround sound, right? So I've got these one there, and then 2 at the back. I can through choice make surround sound. So there's a moment that's like, oh, I want to be immersed in the character's head. This sound comes from all 4 speakers in this space, and if there's a sound that's just strictly for the audience, for example, then you can only put it left and right. Am I making sense? The more you've got option-wise, the more you can stylize it and make it interesting. That's system design. Right, part of the Royal Court. So this thing goes up and down, and then when this panel goes up, it reviews a toilet. Remember I talked about this toilet mic sound effect? So I put a little boundary mic at the ceiling, and then whenever the characters were in the toilet in a very focused space, you activate the mic, so it sounds. Do you have a reverb on this? Maybe not. That's okay. But then you put a little toilet reverb on it, so the nature of the space changes, right? Because you used to me talking like this, and then suddenly I've got a bit of extra reverb over here. Then this is a different scene, ish, right? that sounds different. My voice like this versus my voice like this, coming out of the speakers are a different thing. And then you can use that as a technique to say I'm in different spaces. But then you can only use it in a choice, right? If you use it all the time, that means nothing. You just have to use it in a very, very choice way. I line speakers, and so when this panel moves up and down, then I put rows and rows of speakers there, so that when it goes up, the sound effect follows the speakers and fades, and goes and goes. So your eyes are matching what you hear. This is boring. Skeleton Crew, Don't Wow House. It's a show set in 2017. No, that's a lie. 2007. Detroit, Michigan. About a automobile factory that's closing, and it's 4 friends, but then they have different positions of power. So this is the line manager having to fire his friends, which is a very hard thing to do. Have any of you been to Donmar Warehouse? Have any of you been to Donmar Warehouse? It's in 7 Dials in town. It used to be an old banana storage facility, and then now converted to a theatre. Now, what's been really great about this show is that it's set in a factory. So you have automatically, what you can't see in this, automatically all the grey brick and all the ironwork up there that really gives you the space. So when the audience walk in, what I've done, I think also because I never really trained in sound design. I just did classical music, so the approach to a lot of system design from me is just like, oh, it feels cool, including like random speakers by fire exits. So this is this audience are here, and these are the fire exits, and I just put you can't see here, but I've mounted speakers here, and then played factory sound. So when the audience sit down, the factory's all around them. I put speakers in the ceiling, pointing upwards as high as you can go, so you fire these pistony sounds, because then you walk in a space, you go, oh, the building feels alive. And every time in a scene change, these speakers that I put facing away from the audience, behind the audience, but way behind you, and harnessing the building's natural architecture, it's a natural reverb chamber because it's stories high. Well, not stories, like 2 stories high. If you put a speaker here, you see it? Put a speaker here, facing the wall, it will just bounce the sound off like a real factory. So like if you're doing system design, harness a building's natural architecture. It's kind of fun. The types of microphones, you're all sound artists, you know what these are, right? Wireless lav, body mics, shotgun sound microphone, which is really good at capturing things. Boundary mics that you put in the lip of a stage. Overhead mics are choir mics that do this. And then a head held like this. There are a couple types that you use in theatre. Yeah, I talked about the toilet reverb effect. You do church reverb, you can suddenly make a space into a prison or into a, what's someone call it? Where the judges go? When people go gung gung.
Courtroom.
Thank you, courtroom. I was like Judgment Hall. In a heightened moment, for example, if that's a great example. The witches have a little effect on them, so they have a little chorus effect where they have 2 pitches going on at once, and you go, ooh, automatically evil character, and you can then develop that, right? You can add a bit more chorus effect every time, or maybe you have example again, Macbeth, where he descends more and more into madness. Why don't you add a pitch shift? And he goes, rah, 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 right? Or more reverb. To create so if one character's mic has an effect on it and other characters don't, then that character's automatically in a different space dramaturgically. So you can do that as well. Like create character, yeah? Great, cool. Let's talk about this. Oh yeah, we had a lot of mics for this one. Have any of you seen the show? It's beautiful piece of theatre written by Ryan Kelly Cameron about 6 black men going to therapy, and it's basically a choreo poem. The whole script, the show is 2 hours long. The script is 47 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so every time they say a line, sometimes that just explodes from the stage. There are 2 sound cues, very few sound cues specified in the script: a school bell and a saxophone. And so I get the script, and I was told, okay, saxophone. So a saxophone opens the show, and then from that there's a movement sequence. Hello. Take a seat. Yeah, and we had a lot of microphone effects because there's a moment when one of the cast members sits in the middle of the stage and shouts, "Help!" in the middle of the alley. But this, you can look at the set design. It doesn't tell you this is Anna Reid, set designer, who tells you nothing. So in this, you have to, with this set design and the lighting, you have to do therapy room, school. Oh my gosh, we do roadside, we do home, we do living room, we do kitchen. It's all through a very theatrical space, right? Which is very exciting. As sound designer, this is now especially exciting because I find naturalism. Do you know what naturalism is? Naturalism is so, like this is naturalism, isn't it? So I'm going to do a show about a lecture hall. This is purely naturalism. This is exactly what lecture hall is. That doesn't interest me if the set design has lecture seats because I'm like, there's nothing for me to do. You've told me all the story, right? sound design and any other design element. If you don't want to do sound design anymore, you want to do set design, you want to do lighting design, I think designers' job in theatre is to fill in the gaps that other design languages cannot do. So if text does it, if costuming does it, if the set does it, then I'm not going to do it. If someone goes, it is 1948, then I'm not going to put 1940 music in. I'm not gonna put red on red. Whereas if the actor goes, wearing 1948 period costume saying it's 1948, I might actually put in Billie Eilish, because why not? Because I'm not going to put red on red, I'm going to put blue on red. So now you add underscore emotion and make it more contemporary. Long story short, we have back to the character who shouts "help" in the middle of a dark alleyway that you have to paint through this set. So we have rifle mics hidden in behind the set, and we add tons of reverb and tons of echo, so that when he shouts, it's like him shouting to the void. So this is all the mic scenes in QLab. But you see, there's every compromise. I don't know how loud he's gonna shout. I don't know when he's gonna shout. But however he shouts it, and whenever he shouts it, I've got an option for it. Does that make sense? Right? It's similar to the system design I've got for Macbeth. Whatever it is, I've got a version for it, just in case. And you just go, boop, that's it. It's like moving blocks of music around vertically. I've got it. Maybe to talk about this. I'm going to talk about shows really quickly in a bit. So how it happens for me, I get AV checked, my agent sends me, someone goes, are you available next year around this time? I go, yes. They send me the script, I read it, I go, yeah, okay, interesting. I'm getting a lot of Shakespeare's recently. And then I look at the world of the play. So, for argument's sake, can I? Maybe I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No. Pinterest. God damn it. Alright, forgive me, I have not prepped this Pinterest. But if I go to home, have any of you used Pinterest? I haven't used it in ages. Boards. Yeah, there we go. A white card. A white card meeting is one of those theatre terms where it's quite confusing. So you get a white card, and then you get a green card, and you get a final design model, right? A white card means sort of general idea, concept from a designer. So imagine I get this white card. They go, I'm going to do Hamlet, and everybody's going to dress like this, and the set's going to look like this. So what kind of music am I going to put to it? I'm probably going to put hard rock or punk rock, maybe, as an initial offer, and then that might change, right? It might get into orchestra at some point in the middle of the show, but that's your first instinct. So much of the visual images, I always ask for them because that informs the palette. Versus if they were like, oh, we're going to do, say, Macbeth, and it's going to look like this. Then your music might be a bit more sort of futuristic, a bit more synth pop, right? Potentially electro swing if you want to. I might put some mic effects on people. Oh, this is really cool mic effect called Dehumanizer by Krotos, which can make your voice sound like this. It's very cool. They use it in Stranger Things on stage. But I might do that, right? So your white card, your set informs my palette. Dun, dun, dun. So that's part of it. I also think about if there are any songs mentioned in the script, because that's important, because that's character, right? If a character always, I was reading a bit, character listens to a piece called a particular track, let's say they like Here Comes the Sun, right? So you play Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, and then when they re-meet, so this is, I'm a character, I love this song, so here, I go on stage, and as a sound designer, I introduce this character with Here Comes the Sun. And then maybe I grow up, and maybe I go through a really traumatic moment. Then you might do a orchestral rearrangement of Here Comes the Sun by a really sad tune on piano, right? So you, as an audience member, you go, I'm recognizing a theme, but I can then, use, as sound designer, as a composer, reinterpret it. To look at songs, sometimes I ask characters to tell me, and actors to tell me what they like listening to, because that's, again, character building, in every sense of the word. And I always start somewhere. And that's me repeating myself. Yeah. Oh, role of music. That's important. What does it need to say? What space to take? So often, again, is going to, if the lighting or the words can do it, if the movement sequence can do it, I'm not going to do it. But I love it when theatre lets you do 10-second scene changes that have so much information in it. So I need to ask about the role of music. If it's going to be unscored, why? That's really abstract. So I think playing examples is more useful. Yes, I make worlds. I'm a sound designer. I make worlds. I did a show called My Neighbor Totoro, and I make worlds. The birds in My Neighbor Totoro in the soundscape are all from that particular Japanese prefecture. Have you seen this show? You've seen the show. The cat bus meows are submitted by the cast on WhatsApp. They and auditioned all of their cats and going, that's a wow. And I'm like, I want that cat. So, but it's about world building, and it's about because that show is so much about. In that 6-week process, we built it at the RSC. It was so much about community, and it was so devised. It's quite a devised. Phelan and the Improbable Theatre are a devising company, so which is really annoying when you're in tech. And they're like, well, I know you're here, but I know tomorrow we have the press, but can we just go here instead? And lighting design is like, no, you can't because you fixed the light to point at somebody. But they're like that. They're like, oh yeah, let's try this out. But that's in the same spirit, right? Then I go, okay, well, you've got cats. It's about a cast. It's about all of us together making a show. So give me your cats. The crickets in there are a particular animator of cricket. But it's world building. You have to really do the research and then make the world correct, right? That's what I'm interested in. I build worlds. Right. Cool. Now are we still interested? I'm going to talk about a few shows, and then we'll see about the Q&A. Oh yeah, great. I've chatted for too long. Cool. Right. Okay. This is a show called Finishing the Picture. It's by Arthur Miller. Really about Marilyn Monroe. The chair's crucial here. So. I don't know how many of you know about Marilyn Monroe's very, very sad life. She was towards the end of her life, made to film a lot. And she was put on uppers because she was on downers in the night. So she was so pepped and quite depressed, so they put her on downers. And then because she was very, very sleepy in the morning, she got to put her on uppers. And plus we continue, it's like espresso martini after espresso martini. So he wrote a show about that. They eventually divorced. Arthur Miller eventually divorced. Marilyn Monroe divorced Arthur Miller. It doesn't really matter. So and then he writes a show. And puts her in it, but she's called Kitty, okay? But she's really Marilyn Monroe. And it's called Finish the Picture, i.e. we're on a deadline, Kitty won't wake up. The entire show is about getting her to wake up and finish a picture, finish this film. I think Arthur Miller was a bit upset about the divorce, so Kitty / Marilyn Monroe doesn't get a single line. Oh yeah, doesn't get a single line. In Act 2, all he writes in stage directions is a woman, semi-naked, back towards the audience, and then all these characters speak at her. So we did this configuration, yeah? And if I was Kitty, and I was like just trying to get up in the morning, all of you would take turns speaking, asking me to get up and like do this film. And we were like, well, no, it's what year did we do it? I think it was 2019. We're like, no, we're not having any performance stage, semi-naked, not saying a line. This is not on. Especially, this is not on. I think he was quite upset about the divorce. So we then cut the need for an actor of the character altogether and used a saxophone instead, right? So this show is set in 1950s North America. The palette then therefore, and they're quite upper class, middle class people. So we use cool jazz, like John Coltrane, Take 5 by Dave Brubeck comes to mind. Do you all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, great, perfect. Not only does it just take away the fact that we need an actor that says no lines and is semi-naked on stage for about, which I think is, but also it makes it more interesting. So it becomes a sound design. The whole act of these characters coming to go, Kitty, let's film now. Is they're talking at sound design and there's a reaction. Also there's a constant pause. So they're running out of time. There's money ticking, and so we use constant pause to indicate stress. Cool. I'll do the reading in a bit. Cool, so this one. Act 3 opening. This is after the interval. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And it fades down. You see this is a fade. So it fades down. And then there's no chair. There's no chair. And then I'm Edna, and Kitty is now going to be a saxophone where Maria is. So I'm going to talk at the saxophone, at the speaker. So the sound's only going to come from that place. I'm going to go, bedroom, right? Kitty dear, hi, it's Edna. So the saxophone is now Kitty responding to, hi, it's Edna. She's waking up in the morning doing, just waking up. About 8:15. So what as a designer I have to do is then make this sound effect sound like she's asking about the time. Does that make sense? Yeah? Go 8:15. Oh yes, they're still open to shoot in the morning. Derek's in the other room. Like, poor Mr. Oshner and Terry, guess what, Jerome's here. Yeah, he's here to see you. So she likes Jerome, yeah? He's resting, but he'll be down in 3 minutes to talk to you. Oh, Kitty, please don't take anything just now. Look at this cue. Please don't take anything just now, could you? Don't take drugs now. It's a longer queue. I stretched it. So, because Terry's gonna have a look at your etc, etc, etc. So saxophone becomes a stand-in for Kitty and responds on her behalf. So as Etna goes, so she's a bit lazy. This is still the morning, yeah. As we go on, oh, here we go. Quickening pulse. Look at this cue. Badly normalized. Horrendous compression. We're about 1 minute 46. I'm gonna skip ahead to about 20 minutes in. We're here, right? We hit the tempo. 20 minutes in, you are now at. Here we go. We went about 40 BPM over the course of 20 minutes. So the audience member, you're going, this is getting more and more uncomfortable. You can't quite tell, and it's done through this ticking clock, right? Can you hear ticking clock? You've got a very cool jazz palette. You've got upright bass. You've got a ride. You've got a flute. So these are all cool jazz instruments, but then creating a soundscape underneath it. It's on a ticking clock. And this bed needs to exist because if you don't have it and just play these things, it'll be like, whoa, this is some weird continental theatre thing going on, right? Where's you got that? It's a piece of music. Cool. So am I making sense, right? Are you following? You're following? So here are some different characterizations. She likes Edna, so when Edna talks to her, she's waking up in the morning. There we go. Kitty's waking up. It's a waveform, yeah? And then Derek asks her to film. And Kitty's like, it's a bit more pleading now. She's like, don't make me film, come on. Don't want to film. Right, so you can then use the saxophone in different characters. So I just took samples of Free Music Archive. This is like when I started, this is one of my very early jobs. And I'm going to show you in a bit. So how I learned to swim, as these are shows sort of later part of my career. These are earlier, and you can see even the way I program QLab is so different because I didn't have full QLab. I did a lot of this in Logic Pro, so you can see that it's not necessarily as flexible. I'm going to show you in a bit. Whereas shows like how I learned to swim, right? You can see they all look like this, right? These cues they're completely different audio files. Whereas how I learned to swim are now all in green groups. Can you see the difference? And every cue has a lot of different things going on now. Alright, she likes Jerome, right? Nice and easy. There we go. So it's light and easier saxophone lick, saxophone sample. She really doesn't like Paul. And even you can see it from the waveform. She hates Paul. Paul comes into the room and asks her to film. Paul comes in and you go, and then the actor playing Paul will be shouting, come on, wake up, wake up. What do you mean you can't film? What do you mean you can't film? What do you mean you can't film? So we'll be having a conversation, a shouting match with a saxophone. Which is what sound design can do. You can do a lot of these, but it's quite interesting, I found, this particular technique, because you're taking free jazz and taking a palette, a jazz palette, and then doing it in a very stylistic way, yeah? Cool. Next one, The Invisibles. One of my favourites. I did a Vaults Festival. Oh, wrong thing. Here we go. There we go. Vaults 2020. Again, one of my earlier shows. I love this show. This is just during COVID. I think that we never got to see it. We never got to show it because it was the week that everything got shut down. Remember? Wow. So this is a show about it's set in. Where's it set in? It's set in Mexico, I think. I'm getting it wrong. But it's set against the backdrop of a lot of protests at that time against femicide, particularly violence against female sex workers. So these two women are in the script. They write these two women and a pimp character, and we are like, it's 2020 and it's a show about women, and we're not going to put the pimp in. We don't need the sound effect of someone going, "Come on, get up and wake up." We just didn't need it. So we symbolize the pimp with one song, Gasolina. So now we're using, rather than using a saxophone, an instrument, you use a track. Do you all know Gasolina? Are you all like, you're like 18 to 26-ish, right? And then ish, and a bit higher. I only ask because when I'm 32, and remember when we used to take our little cell phones and put it next to a speaker and it would go. Does anybody remember this? Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
And it would go, and that's because I'm doing that. What we really captured with the opening of Gasolina does that, and that was actually quite interesting to use a telephone effect. So they are running from him and the brothel, and at the very end of the piece they swim through a river, which is now then I love French theatre, man, which we symbolise through fish nets, and it's like you make this on a £150 budget. These red shoes symbolise freedom, so they want to try it in the whole show. They're blocked to get closer to the red shoes, and they don't really quite get there. Okay, and now whenever these phone calls happen, we're not gonna, because theatre and not naturalism, there's no phone on stage. Gus is gonna ring, and in terms of system design, it was sort of like in this configuration where I had 4 independent speakers and 5 speakers. So imagine if that projector was a speaker, yeah? So that's a speaker, projector speaker, pointing down, and whenever the phone rang, the phone sound only came out of that speaker. And then there were 4 other speakers surrounding you, okay? So that's dedicated, the pimp is called Gus. Okay, here we go. So, we use one song as a stand-in for the pimp, and the pimp, so you song as character. We used an instrument as character earlier, yeah? So we use song as character, spot speaker, so we only comes out 1 speaker. And when our character answers the phone, sorry live streamers, actually fine. So imagine if this particular, imagine the speaker here, yeah? And every time there was a phone call, this speaker would go, and then there'll be another light pointing down and just keep glowing. Phone call. And when the character answers phone call, they're going to step into the pool of light, they're going to go, and then the whole thing will change, and there'll be sound coming out of the speaker, goes at you like a phone call. And then all the lights will kill except this pool of light. So I'll be speaking up into the speaker as I was talking into a phone. Making sense? Cool. And also with phone conversations on stage, you never need both sides, really. Because all you need is me going, hello, hi, yeah, sorry, I'll be there soon. Right, story told, I'm late. I don't need, hello, hi, hey, how are you? Are you going to be there yet? No, you don't need that. You just go one-sided conversation. And also, so we actually had real protests as well. People sent in voice notes. And we put them into all the transitions, and we forced the audience to listen to it came out all 4 speakers, as though you were immersed in the process itself. And we only heard a female timbre voice, including all the songs. So yes, it's like, sound design is a very, very useful design tool in politics, because I think projection and sound design are the 2 design languages that are the most efficient in telling political stories. Because we just go right at you. Lighting can't do it, text could sort of, but we just go, as a design language, we just go, bam, you're in a protest. Bam, this thing happened. Bam, this thing happened. You can't really quite run from it, which I think is really, really cool. Which is what political work. Cool. So, this is how it goes. The phone rings, right? The phone rings. The speaker's going to play Gasolina. The light's going to go throop. So, right on the script, you're sort of reading it, right? On the script it goes, it's almost like my phone rings and I go pick it up. But we're like, no, pick up, what are you doing? The phone keeps ringing. No, I don't want to answer the phone from Gus. And then I pick up. Gus, how is it? Okay, cool. Shall we? Have a look. Here we go. So, if you know Gasolina, the start of the song, let's actually play Gasolina. Actually, we have it here. And I'm 17 again. And okay, the start of Gasolina. Does it not sound like when you put your phone next to the speaker, it goes yeah, well, you in my age, you probably get it. So we're like, oh, that's interesting. So let's use that as the phone ringing. Let's put a distortion in it for some reason. That's okay. So the phone rings. And we go to. So this is this stage direction, yeah. Phone rings. So the speaker's throbbing, the lights shining. Like, I'm not gonna answer. It's a loop, the vamp, yeah. So I can actually go. No, I don't want to pick up the phone. I want to pick up the phone. And you go, okay, well you have to pick up the phone. So here we go. I'm gonna pick up the phone up. Answer the phone. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And then the speaker is gonna keep playing us at me. I'm gonna talk at the fight against Gasolina. And what Mauricio's gonna say, I'm gonna say these lines. Hi, no, she's not here right now. Hello, yeah, what do you want? She's not here, she's working, right? Etc, etc, etc. And meanwhile, Gasolina's playing and playing and playing and playing. But do you know, did anyone tell you about the rule of threes in theatre? You sort of do things in threes. So this Gasolina phone call moment happens 3 times in the play. Because if you do one thing really cool, if I only play Gasolina once and I never play it ever again, you as an audience member go, oh, that was a cool moment. Remember that moment in Gasolina? You go to the pub, you be like, ah, cool, that happened. What happened to it? Nothing happened to it. If I do it twice, you go, must be one more. But because you didn't answer the question, right? The first time you do one instance of a theatrical thing, you've put it into the ether. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. Second one is, this is the journey. The third time is, this is the completion. Full stop. Right? The second one is comma. The third one is a full stop. So, cool. So this is the first time you answer the phone. But as Gus gets angrier and angrier, every time you answer the phone, you're going to put an audio effect on it. So, you're going to EQ it to boost the bass. So it's thumpier, angrier. The distortion maybe. So in Q-Lab we can do these. There we go. So the first time she answers the phone, it might sound like this. So the audience knows it's Gasolina. The second time she answers the phone. Do you all know what EQ is? Yes? Yeah, great. So take out the high offs. So the subs are really activating. Third time she answers, Gus goes, why are you running away? Gets angrier and angrier. So we repeat this phone in and phone out moment 3 times. And now we're gonna hang up the phone. So I'm gonna hang up now. 3, 2, 1, step away from the zone and then you play this file called 344, mysterious horror scary pad. And then the character's gonna go, that phone call was awful. I really feel so scared. Right? So you don't really need anything else. But now you just go from a musical moment that's quite dense into something that's quite passive and just gives you a bit of shape. Here you go, the other chant. So imagine one audio file in each speaker. One here, separate file there. So now you're immersed in it. So when Gus has a dedicated speaker, and every scene transition moment, you're enveloped into protest, which is like a combination between system design and content design. And really, there aren't that many things. It's a pad, there's a bit of Gasolina with the effects on it, and then sort of quite cheekily playing with the opening of it because it sounds like a phone call. And then you thrust the audience into real life, right? We do that really well at sound design. Sound design projection do it really well. Bam, real life. Dun dun dun. Then we're going to do top of the show. We've got Little Baby Jesus at the Orange Tree. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made. It's about 3 black teenagers growing up in London. We have so we're going to talk about each character. It's the director's called Tristan Finn Eduenu. He is going to do a show called Blue Mist. It's about the late Chadwick Boseman at the Globe next year. His work is astounding. Tristan's work is astounding. Hope we get to work with him one day. Each character, so there are 3 performers on stage. We have Kai Shaw and Yebe Godwin, and we have Rachel Nakoro. They all play a character, but they also play characters in other people's lives. So when Kai plays Rugrat, right? And Kai goes, this character in Rugrat's life, then Rachel will, as a performer, Rachel will then stand up and then adopt a character in Rugrat's life. Does that make sense? So they're all playing their characters and characters in other characters' lives. So it's all multi-rolling. They all wear school uniforms, there are 3 chairs on stage, classic kind of like theatre, which means sound design then does a lot of work. Every character, Joanne, who's played by Rachel, has a sound palette, has an instrumentation. So I'm sort of graduating an idea, yeah? So Joanne has R&B, Kende plays classical music because he's very grounded, and Rugrats sort of play the really, sort of the kid in school that sort of gets in trouble quite a lot, so we use grime, electronica, and game music. And then the songs, here's another tip for you. If you are going to use actual music, and you're going to have, unless you do the Gasolina thing, where I'm angry and shouting at a particular character, right? Gasolina is the pimp, so I, as character, I'm going to shout against it. If you want to underscore a character speaking a monologue, and you want to use pop music, like a Joni Mitchell track, start with the Joni Mitchell, blue and green, starting that, and then crossfade to karaoke and instrumental version, because so that my voice is not fighting against the lyrics. Right? If you've got, particularly with my tomboy voice and her tomboy voice, we'll fight. So then fade to the instrumental version, and then once I'm done with monologue, fade back to the actual song.
then nothing. Audiences don't know because all you do is establish, take away. Then you do characterization, emotion via thematic palettes. What do I mean? There we go. So, to introduce, we're going to introduce the character Joanne. So she's going to go on stage and you're going to hear, this is Joanne. So you can hear their palette, R&B palette. It's a particular song called Rain by SWV. That gently touches my soul. So I'm going to play the actual track by Rain. Yes. Come on. You can do it. I want you to all pick on the. If you all got the lick in your head, we're gonna play the lick in a bit. If you all got the lick in your head, right? So this is Joanne's song. So when she comes on stage, we establish her palette. So that is Rain by R&B. Joanne is this is who she is, this is her background, she has these family members, etc. Don't talk about her. Right? And then now this button. Do you know what buttons are? So in musical theatre, maybe you have a song and then you go to make audience clap. In the musical theatre, you go da 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 da, boom. The boom is a button, musical theatre. Usually in a sound design context in theatre, button is a sound effect, a really quick short sound effect that signifies the start or end of a theatrical beat. So there's a button, which stops the music, yeah? Then we're going to talk about Kende, who's the older sibling. So classical music ends up giving a character more balances. We're done introducing him. The button goes. The button is now piano and has a bit of strings into it. It's a fun thing. So if you're, as a prompt, I've got a upper class family. I'm doing a show. I want to depict an upper class family. What music do you usually play for that family? Classical, right? It's funny. A lot of our jobs as a sound designer is we have to understand what universally is understood as one thing. So usually when you go to see stage show, they go upper class family. Somehow classical music. Similarly, I digress, but it's important. When something bad happens, cannot. Tinnitus, okay. Raise your hand if you don't want tinnitus, which is a very high-pitched sound. I'm going to play it quite gently. Right? That's tinnitus. And we solve university through watching film and listening to audiobooks and watching enough theatre. University understand that tinnitus happens sort of after a really bad event, right? There's on screen you see, I don't know, maybe Transformers, and there's a car crash, and then bam, poof, ball, explosion, fire. A few seconds tinnitus, and then same. And that's interesting because I, as a sound designer, know that we university understand tinnitus as something happening after something awful has happened. So I'm digressing, but it's important. So rather than doing gunshots on stage or having an explosion on stage, you don't need to do that, right? I'm in a car and go, fuck, I'm gonna crash. Blackout. True blackout. Tinnitus for 2 seconds. Let's back up. It does the exact same storytelling without having to do explosion. You don't have to show a car. I think sometimes when in theatre we do over realism, you actually take away from the horror or the emotional impact of an event. Whereas you just go pure blackout, or I see my enemy and I know that they're gonna do something awful to me. Blackout, tinnitus. Then the audience is then allowed to fill in the gaps and fill in their own storyline and retrospectively reinterpret what that tinnitus sounded to the character, right? So back to the point where you go, okay, I've got a character who's got a bit of gravitas, naturally Beethoven, right? I don't know why. We just understand it. We just communicate information so quickly. Now go to a Rat. Here we go. So Rat played by Kai Shaw. He's cheeky. Look at that mouth, you He's got a lot of video game sounds. He likes video games. Done talking about him. Now all these characters. So I'm Anyebe Godwin. I play Kende, and there's a character called Rachel in my life. So if I was Anyebe, I'd stand up and go, Rachel, and then the other performer, maybe Kai or Rachel the performer, would stand up and be like, I'm going to undertake the character of Rachel. And we're going to give them a button. So an event, a theatrical event. So if Kende talks about Rachel in his life, we use the same palette, right? We use a classical palette, but we give information about how he feels about Rachel. He likes Rachel, right? We've got a classical palette, it's got a glockenspiel, it's got a bit of strings underneath it. I'll play it again. It's a major chord. Same key, in fact, as his intro music. I like Rachel. Now, Rat talks about Baker in his life. He hates Baker. But you've got the same kind of palette, right? You've got video game music, you've got the ooh, 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 which indicates, disgust. Joanne talks about her mom. So remember, Joanne's an R&B palette. Mum's tricky. And we used, not only do we use an R&B palette, we use an R&B chord. So, I think there's a minor ninth in there. Rat talks about Jerome. Good mate. Yeah, video game palette. Joanne talks about the boys in the block. I kind of like the boys in the block. Candy talks about his grandma. A lot of gravitas, full respect. Joanne talks about Baker now. Baker appears in all their lives. So Baker appears in Rugrat's life. Now Rugrat hates Baker. Whereas Joanne thinks this of Baker. So I'm gonna go Baker, and then the actor's gonna stand up. Might give him a chance. Joanne talks about Christina, who works at the laundromat. I think she's a bit childish, man. Rugrat talks about Babatunde. I'm gonna fight this guy. Playground, I'm gonna fight him. Right, Duncan. And then Candy talks about Tao, his twin sister. Pure, angelic. Really, really, really likes her. So you can see how with these buttons you can then, through a palette and I think a particular genre language, communicate character. Is that clear? Yeah? Now we're gonna use all of that into a sequence. So Joanne is now working in a laundromat. She has a few songs. Rain is one of her favourite tracks. Just put this track on. And we're gonna do this thing where the track's gonna play and it's gonna got this, I call it an iPod or a headphone effect, right? So you sort of take off the high end, take off the low end, to sound like she's here. So as an audience member, you go, the cue is this. She puts the headphones on, the cue's gonna play. It's gonna sound a bit tinny, and then it's gonna go from one speaker, and then it's gonna go all into the house, and I'm gonna take that EQ effect off, and then you're gonna hear the full track. And what I'm trying to do in that moment is to allow you to share her music. So you see her put the headphones on, and then once the music goes into the house, and I say house, I mean audience, then you're in her head. It's sort of the idea. So you then listen to this. So the cue is, I put my headphones on, I'm Joanne. There it goes. Now you're in my head, right? Now you're listening to the track with me. And then a blanket gets stuck in a washing machine, and she tries to yank it. It's a very small moment in the play, but it's really quite funny. And then she yanks, and the boys in the block come and save her. And they do this King Arthur moment. They go yanking, and then it's done. And what I'm trying to show you is, in QLab, these green groups mean things happen simultaneously. So I paused it, but what's happening is, oh, hello. Sorry, internet just kept playing. I've got this track, which is now muted. It's the same track, it's the music, but so this is negative volume. If I bump it up, okay, so it's that. Okay, I'm in laundromat, listen to this track. Then this thing gets stuck in the washing machine. I'm trying to pull it out. And then the boys in the block come. Okay, the boys in the block come. And I see my half brother, don't like him. So it's frozen in time, virtual cue, but we're gonna forget him and go back to the story I'm telling, which is I'm in a laundromat, and then this blanket gets stuck in the washing machine, and the boys come, and they're gonna yank at this blanket, and they're gonna pull, and then when they go, and this one boy in particular gets to do it. He goes, so you crossfade, snap fade into the orchestral rearrangement of it, right? Then you're telling a story of like, yeah, let's go, and then you pull harder, so it fades it up, and then the blanket comes out, and the moment's over. The moment to land that is that you have those two tracks, see? It runs simultaneously at the same time. So that's running at this level. And this is still, well, it's stopped now, but to start the cue, they're both running at the same time. I'm going to do it. They're both running, do you see? They're both running at the same time. And what I've done is done a snap, crossfade. So this storytelling, it's funny. Well, I think it's funny. That's funny because you've associated that kind of like Victorian orchestral music with somehow like, bravado when they are just school kids. Then, plot twist, Kende and Rachel get together. Now remember, Rachel really likes the track Rain, and Kende's palette is orchestral. So they're going to talk about, there's a sequence, there's a beautiful duologue about falling in love which is beautiful. It was by Renze Kenne, who did who's now on stage in I don't know, but he did Misty. I think we called Misty, which is a beautiful show with Trafalgar and Bush. He wrote this, and then so we're going to talk about. So you're using Kenne's palette, which is orchestral, but then you do a orchestral remix of Rain, which is a track that she likes a lot. It's going to come in a bit. Just the audience member, you just have to hear that, and then you see them holding hands, and it's just like, oh, and that's just enough sometimes, right? Does that make sense? Like sort of, then as a composer and sound designer, you're sort of taking palettes and taking aesthetics and taking stories and taking tracks that characters like to listen to and reinterpreting them, doing something fascinating with them. It's 4:00. Shall I talk about one more show and then open it up? I think that's what I'm supposed to do, because really, oh, I love this. You seen this? This is great. So we're not going to do the next audio editor. I'm going to really quickly. Don't take this. You're going to get sent this. At the very end of this presentation, these slides are lists of things that I know that you're students at the moment, but these are things that job boards that got me started. Some of them are no longer as active as they used to be. Things that helped me, particularly in my career. Shadowing is really useful. You know who I am. You're gonna get my contact. Yeah, now. It's like looking at Annie. Applying for grants. My career really accelerated when I got a lot of cash injection through grants. And then, yeah, and some theatres do a lot of young techs or tech programs. And there's some things that really helped. So they will be at the very end before I open the Q&A. There'll be some resources of sound effects and free things that you can use, royalty-free things that you can use in your sound design. And some of my favorite things to websites. Kill up shortcuts if you ever want them. I'm going to race through this. And then, yeah, cool. I'm going to talk about one more show. And then there's some design tips I've been given by different directors across my career who taught me things including rule of 3, Chekhov's gun. For example, that. If you hear one sound, you latch onto it. So if I did Gasolina only once, you latch onto it and it would be an unanswered question for the rest of your entire experience. So make sure you do something with it. Rule of 3, these are like sort of some theatrical design tips that I've been given by directors across my career. Here you go. It's fun. For Foley, you don't know what Foley is, right? You know what Foley is? This is a thing that they've carried from the Globe to Totoro, for example. For sword clang, offstage sword clang, you never use a real sword. You use a shovel, because one step up, it's louder and it's more terrible. So real sword clang, it's like clang clang. Your shovel goes ka-chong, and you go, ooh, that's awful, isn't it? Offstage, that sounds bad. So you won't level up. So in Totoro, for example, the Kappas is a spaceship. It sounds like a spaceship. You might not clock it, but in the film, it's not. It's just wind. But you always use one level up for Foley. Just try one level up because it gives the audience space to imagine. Just like the space to imagine is useful. Like tinnitus, substituting for a car crash. You don't need it. Just go blackout, tinnitus, done. Next line, the next line, the character goes, "Oh, I was in a car crash." Done. That's it. Yeah, I think these are the things that don't design. You get sent this. I'll talk about one more show, and then we will. Oh man, I love all of these. Let's take a pick. Totoro. Totoro. You can talk about Macbeth. You can talk about. I love this show. Beautiful, beautiful show. No, let's talk about this because I think this is very sound design heavy. And again, goes back to a point about if you want to train as a sound designer, particularly my line of sound design, the best thing you can do as self-training is to design a one-person fringe show because you are everything they are not saying. Really quickly, so How I Learned to Swim is written by Somebody Jones. We premiered last year. Director Emma Jude Harris. It follows a character, Jamie. She learns to swim. And we find out that she learns to swim because a few months ago, her brother who has depression went to the sea, went to the ocean, never came back. So she is on a mission to learn to swim, to find him. And we all know that, as all these women, you're like, oh, okay. And so you then underscore, and then she sees him. So for 2 pages, she sees him. And there's a version where you can, in that moment, you can just do pure ocean sounds and fish. There's another version of it where you make that completely stylized and abstract. And so my pitch was, when she sees him, whether she actually sees him or not in our heads, it's going to be classical music, purely classical music. So you can then have space to imagine, and you take all the water sounds away. Now to land orchestral in the most swim heavy, right? Frankly, she might be in the ocean. Most water heavy moment, everything else has to be water, right? To land something that's not the thing, you have to make everything else a thing. Like negative space, right? If I want nothing else around it, to land, I'm repeating myself. To land orchestral, this moment, significant moment of potentially seeing her brother in the most darkest part of the ocean, which is going to have a lot of water sounds, and I'm going to take all the water sounds out, which means everything that happens before that needs to be full of water sounds, right? Then that moment has more significance. So when she every time she talks about I am going to the YMCA, I'm learning to swim, put a lot of things called swim beats. So it's just like ploppy plops, the underscore and help. So we go, okay, scene 2. She goes, I'm gonna go to learn to swim. So I've got swim beats. So it's water phones, water droplets, and it keeps looping. So I'm Jamie, go, I don't know to swim. See, but this is what I did last year. You compare the programming, it's so much more different. This is one of my first shows. Chaotic, bad programming. Now I'm like, I can program. She goes, so you see this cue point on page 5 on the line, let me know. If Molly, who's a swim instructor, if there's anything I can do, let me know. She's gonna wink. And then, cheers. Now you see there's these beats, to keep the looping interesting, what I do is you see it, there we go. I keep all these layers going, right? So by itself, so it starts at level 10, and it dips down to level 33. Whereas this layer number 2 might start at neg 15, and then fade out. Okay, so now we played those 2 layers at the same time. You get layer 1 that starts out and then starts there, and layer 2 that starts there and then fades out, which creates interest, right? So I go all of it together. 3, 2, 1. So it's like a piece of music. It's almost like you go to Logic Pro and you do the loops and you put in automation, but you're doing automation here in QLab. And it goes back to compromise and flexibility. Because in tech, if the director goes, that's not quite enough, I can't go back into Logic and undo it as automation and re-export it for the QLab. I'm not doing that. I'm going into here and doing all these fades, yeah? So that's, every time we talked about learning to swim, we had this swim beat, which theatrically helps the audience understand that she's on her journey to swim, right? So if she's, it's like playwriting, right? This is her wanting to see her brother, orchestral moment, and then she's going to achieve it by learning to swim. She goes to YMCA and has swim classes. So every time she does this, it's just swim beats, all these kind of water beats until you land that moment, right? Does that make sense? Great, perfect. So, we use saxophone to symbolize her brother, as we did with Marilyn Monroe. And particularly it's interesting because we have a dum bum, which sounds like a boat horn, a folk horn. She gets a phone call. This is pre her going into the ocean. We don't know if she's in the ocean. She might be in the car asleep. So the phone, we add tons of reverb, so that her phone rings, tons of reverb, so it's a memory state. Now she's going to go into the water and see her brother. I'm going to go in and then I'm swimming. So then you use a lot of pads in the same key and a lot of saxophone loops along the water to go, now we are going to take it to a different state, yeah? So I'm gonna let the ocean take me. She's gonna go in the water now. And now she's gonna see her brother. And I've taken all the water sounds out in the most watery moment of the show. That's her brother calling. Bum, bum. Fast forwarding. Which is interesting because as a sound designer, then you go, I've given you so much space to imagine what that moment looks like. I'm not telling you where she is. I just know that she feels like this. It's awful. Sorry.
I love you too. You learn to swim.
Cool, so that's one of my favorite things I've ever done, but I think it's because you can get to abstractify and use sound and music to then to create space for me to imagine. It's like, do you all like poetry? I feel really wanky saying it, but my favorite poet used to say that poetry is, they write poetry to create a room for people to imagine in. And I'm not saying that sound design is poetic, but what I want to say is I find we, as sound designers, we can create spaces and freeze time for people to imagine stuff. I think that's really, really fun and cool. I'm going to stop there because I think you should do Q&A now. I've got 20 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. That was fun. I'm not talking about myself. I'm never going to do that ever. It's great. It's like 51st dates. Amazing. Love it.
Thank you so
Hello.
much, Nicola. That was amazing.
Was it? It was great.
Energy, half stand-up comedy, but so informative. And I think it is very poetic. I think that's all poetry.
It is all poetry. Thank you, London. How are we doing, London?
Okay, let's open up for some questions, and you could also, I mean, if there's time, people can request other things to be shown.
100%. So I've got other things to be shown. We stopped here. I've got shows like The Glass Will Shatter, which is using the whole sound is just glass, because the glass will shatter. So do you know glass harps? Right, the thing that you have got these wine glasses in you. So the entire show is just, all the tension pads are just glass harps, which I found online and you can make sort of, and then you get a lot of glass cracking, which you don't quite expect, like sort of stretching a sound effect, stretching an instrument. Yeah? I mean, why don't keep going? Do you have any questions?
Yes, let's ask some questions.
There's over there.
Yeah, I think there's at least one.
I'm not a student, I'm staff.
Hello.
But I'll speak in the mic.
Yeah.
But put your hand if you have a question, because then we can see. Yeah, there's one. Declan, did you have a question? There's two there, so. Okay. So let's do the questions and then if there's time.
Yeah.
Hello, that was really good.
Thank you.
Do you have any like videos of your sound in theatre? Like, do you have any actual? Yeah.
That's a fun thing. So often we don't, because we lighting designers and set designers get production shots. I also write music, compose music. I put a lot of my music on Spotify. But here's one. I'm gonna really quickly. Hopefully I can play it. Will they let me? Is it this? Is it this? Oh, yes. No. Yes. Hang on. Can you all talk amongst yourselves really quickly? I'm gonna go into my emails, and you're not gonna read any of them. Talk myself.
Amy had a question, and then so you had a question. Did you as well? Okay, 3 questions. So, when this is over. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay, well, it's not. Nothing like actually, yes, I've got my hard drive. Of course I do. I'm gonna try and see if I can draw some up. What's fun to see? I don't know. Here's another thing that's like you have to be so like everything aside. I can tell you what sound libraries to get, etc., etc., etc. But if you don't have a rigorous filing system, you're shot. Okay? It's not even as rigorous as it can be, but it needs to be more rigorous than this. Like, it's rigorous. You have to timestamp everything because QLAP final is not gonna cut it, lads. I can tell you this for free. Let's see this one maybe. Fits. Pause it there. Can I see maybe this is better? This is better. Ish. Okay, but script. That. And this is a 4-minute long cue to take that stage direction and make it. And the other other sound cue he mentions is a school bell. And that's it. The whole script only has 2 sound effects. It's got 200 sound cues in it. Etc. I mean,
No love or no healing. Let a black boy move. Let him shake and shuffle without fear. Let a black boy dance and let him take up as much space
hear the reverb.
as he needs. He has been patient, turning the other cheek so much.
And then this becomes this.
I thought it was my dad as the strongest, tallest,
Therapy
biggest,
room. Act 1.
dumbest coward.
Act 2. As my favorite, Act 1 starts with a saxophone, right? And it's very, very slow. 12-second fade out of lights. And Act 2, that I was trying to show you, but Act 2, actually, we just do that. So you got house lights on, playing music, and we just go, poof, and you can hear the audience with their phones go, whoop. Everybody like jumps, which is fun because then again, it's like for me, it's psychoacoustics because the audience goes, oh gosh, they gotta pay attention, Otherwise, we start Act 1 and Act 2 at the same pace. If you both go, oh, let's start, the audience will be like, oh god. Don't know. Does that answer the question? There's a bit of previous work, I guess. Yeah. Right. Hi.
For My Neighbor Totoro, you tuned the reverb tail to the key of the follow music
Yes.
cue. I promise I'm not a stalker, but I
yeah.
talk about that before. Do you want to show how you did that?
Yes. I basically use Logic. In Logic, there's a maybe will I die? Maybe not. So in Logic Pro, there's a reverb unit called Space Designer that Logic uses. Space Designer, in a particular plug, you go to that. There's a few settings where they're pitched, and I use that. Yeah. It's either the cue before that or after. Okay, I know. Thank you. Okay, I know. So let's drag something in. Let's drag, I'm just gonna, so this is me making stuff up, so let's put some wind in. Let's see. Oh, maybe that. Let's try that. I think of you. Output device is this. Hurrah. Apply. Drone tones. But obviously, then they took it down quite low. So it's that. Just use Logic. But then I think it was just having the sensitivity to go the next musical cues. Because if you've seen Nicola, the idea is you shouldn't ever let the audience go down. It should be completely held. So when the music cue starts and stops, when a sound effect starts and stops, it's usually the reverb tails in the key of the next musical cue, or the key of the. So what's this? I think C sharp, something. Oh, not bad, Nicola. Okay, back. D sharp. The D sharp 5 maybe. But then the other options, right? They're all called really awful names, like Daybreak, which is D sharp 5. This is something else. So it was a combination of these layered on top of each other. Drone tone 47. So there's a pitch onto it. And then I export a dry file and export a wet file. And then the reverb tail can then go to the surround speakers, for example, and then while the main sound effect stays on the audience. Crickets, wind, the house is haunted, keeps rumbling. It's louder and louder and louder and louder. Yeah. It's a bit up there. I get cheated by like a few drone tones at the very end. The reverb tail with this drone tonage. So you have, your ears tuned to which is a E flat 6. So that you into. That's the wrong key. It's in C minor usually. Dun da dun ba da dun da da. So it's the sound effect by itself lands you into it. Yeah, it was Logic. Sorry, it was Logic. It was Logic Pro. It was a reverb unit in Logic Pro that I just like fine tuned and found a pitch for it. What is that cue? Dun da dun ba da da. Next, why I find it because I cannot bear to not know. Yes. Is that a question? There's no question. That's a question. Hello. Hi.
I wanted to ask, because you mentioned you'd done audio book work before during COVID. How do you use like spatialization when you're working with like a non-visual art form?
Oh, it's a really good question. I think the two things. But I think working binaural sound has helped me a little bit. But you, if any of you end up doing audio drama, audiobooks, binaural only really has significance. Again, negative space. To land binaural, I usually put a stereo recording before it. So the moment is stereo, someone talks, the stereo recording, and then you go, vroom, binaural, then you go, oh, it's binaural. Whereas if you have the whole thing is binaural, you go, then you start losing, then you don't use binaural recording as a technique anymore, or as a dramaturg, as something interesting. I set place. I think I try in the writing to go, what do I do? It's like a lot of, and I Googled it a lot. I really struggled with through COVID, like when someone's in a rocket ship. You know how people write really weird, fantastical stuff. Someone's in a rocket ship or in a car. I really struggled with that. So I really can't answer. There's no really good answer to that except like the bit of EQ and a bit of reverb, but also making sure I like to use symbolism. So I try to find a way to make here's one. Because when you book an audio plays, you get sent a WAV file of someone just talking like this all the time like this, and you go, great. It would be really nice if you can move away from the mic, but they didn't. So at the start, I always go, if you're moving around, treat the mic like a film camera. It'd be nice if you are doing a scuffling scene. So someone keeps their the condenser mic rolling. If you're doing a scuffling scene, it'd be nice if you could just go, someone's coming through the door, and then do a bit of stuff here, so that the recording I get is more interesting. Otherwise, if they keep doing this and the car moves around me and I'm in the car and then I'm going through a tunnel, that I make the soundscape do more work. So the soundscape has more tension release, has more EQing, and has more change than does the voice. Does that answer the question? That's sort of what I can do the best.
Thank you.
Because you can't change a WAV recording, but you can change the design underneath it and make that change according to the voice. Yeah, that's the best I can answer.
Hi, thank you for your talk.
Sorry?
Thank you for your talk, firstly. And how do you go around sort of updating your sample library? How often are you kind of going through that process? Are you kind of picking up sounds as and when you need them, or is it kind of a dedicated process where you're picking up new sounds? Or
both. Do you any of you Splice? I love Splice. Splice I use, Splice for example, How I Learned to Swim. It's going to sort of circularly answer your question. How I Learned to Swim, which is a great, I think, it's interesting example of how you can use stylized abstract sound design to create a world, is those swim beats, those plicky plocky plumps, came from Splice libraries. It's a mixture of Splice, mixture of I sometimes do a bit of live recording, not very often, because when you've got epidemic sound or I've got a sound snap. So you've got sound snap, I love. And this is all in the presentation, by the way. So they have quite a extensive, let's say, they have quite, this library has quite location specific. And for example, this is interesting because you can't, it's about Walla. Do you know what Walla is? Right, Walla is background human voice. And that's gonna probably be Mandarin in a way that I can't probably make or mimic in a Taiwanese accent potentially. So yeah, it's an active process, a bit of both. I always keep all my shows, so this is dedicated big library, and I try not to buy too many sample packs. I try to use things like EQ and reverb to create more different samples. And Ben and Max Rimmer are some established sound designers. Their tip was always have a library of things that you make. So if you can go into, if you have contact, find a contact library and then make water, but like your water sounds, and then make a whole, and it should all sound like you as an artist. That's how you go forward. And this realm of work. It's a bit of both. I use Splice and use SoundSnap a lot. Yeah. Active process, always. Every show is saved. Every show is saved. Everything is saved. Save. Yeah, and be diligent, rigorous about your file management.
Any other questions? I think maybe time for one more. We wrap. Wow.
Right, comprehensive. Cool. Smash it.
Yeah, on time and everything, but wow, thank you so much, Nicola. That was fantastic. Yes, the slides. Do you want to plug your show?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug my show. It's press night tonight for my show The Globe. So I scored for a 4-piece classical band a show, Midsummer Night's Dream, at the San Monica Playhouse with Lit by Candles, underscored by 4-piece band. It's press night tonight, so I'd like to invite all of you to come. It'd be really fun. It'd be really fun to see a sound designer score for orchestra, because the feedback I've gotten is that I've been treating them like QLab. Which is so I know it's a compliment. They're like, you're treating us like QLab. I'm like, well, yeah, I know you're human, but and they're full instrumentalists. And because you kind of, so all the stuff that I do with like swim beats and underscoring, I try to apply for this band at the same time. So it's been a massive learning process. Have you seen shows The Globe? You sort of play 7 cues and you go dun 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 bum 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 bum. Macbeth walks on, ta-da! And I've given them about 109, and they're like, what the fuck? So it's been quite fun to see. Everybody was like, it's unplayable, but it's playable. We got it there. Yeah, and also, sorry.
How long is it on?
To January, so you got time in January. And my email, I'm happy for my email to be passed around. If any of you, which eventually will, come with the presentation. Shadowing and seeing the process is very, I think, useful personally. Making contact is useful, but also you wanted to see how other sound designers work, useful. Also, if you find sound and theatre interesting, shadowing content designers is also useful. Adam Fisher, Gareth Owen, Gareth Fry potentially, if you can reach out to them and ask them to shadow, because they do similar. Like we're all in the same umbrella, but we do quite different, like technical work. The use of our tech is very different too. And yeah, see if it's for you. I think this sounds like, I love it. I often get feedback that like, I'm very, very excited and very excitable, but it might not be for you, and that's also okay. I really like it. So come along, see if it's for you, and if it's for you, we can chat. I think it's sharing is caring. So yeah, there we go. Really, that's it. No worries. Thank you for having me.